Spencer sat at the head of my table. That's what I noticed first when I walked into the boardroom. Not at the side, not in a guest chair. At the head, in my seat. The leather chair I'd bought 15 years ago when Keene Freight was running out of a warehouse with 3 trucks. Eleanor didn't look at me when I entered. My wife of 22 years studied the agenda like it contained secrets. Her brother wore a navy suit that cost more than my first truck and a smile that said he'd already won something. The board sat silent, uncomfortable, waiting. "Thomas," Spencer said, not standing. "We were just discussing the restructuring." I stayed near the door, coat still on, snow melting off my shoulders. "What restructuring?" Eleanor finally looked up. Her eyes were cold. "Spencer's taking over operations. Given your health concerns, we thought it was best." My health concerns. A minor procedure 3 months ago that I'd recovered from completely. I smiled, quiet, steady. Then I walked out. In the hallway, I leaned close to my assistant, Georgina. "Activate the file." "My name is Thomas Keene. I'm 58 years old, and I built Keene Freight from nothing. Not from family money, not from connections, from 18-hour days and contracts other logistics companies wouldn't touch. I grew up in Scranton. My father worked the railroad. My mother cleaned houses. I learned early that nobody hands you anything. Eleanor Whitaker was different. Old Philadelphia money, private schools. When we married, her mother asked if I understood what I was getting into. I was wrong about what she meant. Keene Freight grew fast. We specialized in cold chain logistics, temperature-sensitive freight, the work nobody wanted because the margins were thin and the liability was high. I made it work. When the company hit $50 million in revenue, Eleanor's family finally acknowledged me. Spencer started asking questions about expansion. I pulled back from operations 6 months ago. Doctor's orders after a cardiac episode. Minor. But I let them think it was serious. That's when Spencer asked to review the books. I gave him the wrong ones. They met at Eleanor's mother's house. I knew because Georgina told me. She had coffee with Eleanor's housekeeper, and information flows between people who clean up other people's messes. Eleanor arrived first, then Spencer, then their mother, Constance, with her pearls and her opinions about people who worked with their hands. Spencer spread papers across the dining table, financial statements, projections, all showing Keene Freight in steady decline. "The numbers are worse than I thought," he said. "Thomas has been coasting on old contracts. No innovation, no growth strategy." Constance sipped tea. "He's always been more comfortable with trucks than boardrooms." Eleanor's voice was quiet, resigned. "I've tried talking to him. He won't listen." Spencer leaned back. "Then we don't ask. We act. I can bring in investors, real capital, restructure the debt, but Thomas has to step aside." "He won't," Eleanor said. Spencer smiled. "Then we make it impossible for him to stay." Constance set down her cup. The china clinked with finality. "If he won't let go, we'll push him out, for the good of the company, for the family." Eleanor stared at the papers, at her future without a husband who embarrassed her at country club dinners. "When do we start?" Spencer gathered the files. "We already have." My accountant called me at home. Marcia had been with me since the beginning. Sharp eyes, sharper instincts. "Thomas, Spencer's been moving money." I was in my study. Rain tapped against the window. "Tell me." "He's restructuring vendor contracts, canceling long-term agreements. He's routing payments through new accounts I don't recognize." "How much?" "Hundreds of thousands, maybe more." I leaned back. Let the silence sit. Document everything, every transaction, every authorization code. "Thomas, why aren't you stopping him?" I watched rain slide down the glass. "Because he hasn't taken enough rope yet." "What?" "He's committing. Every move he makes, he's committing to a story. When he's so deep he can't climb out, that's when we pull." Marcia was quiet. "Then, you knew he'd do this." "I counted on it." "The books I gave him are accurate," I said, "for a company that doesn't exist." She exhaled slowly. "Understanding. How long have you been planning this?" "Since the first time Eleanor's mother called me lucky at a dinner party, since Spencer started explaining my own industry to me like I was slow." "Thomas? Just keep recording. When this is over, I want every decimal point." I hung up and poured bourbon. Outside, lightning split the sky. Inside, I felt nothing but patience. The notary met me at a law office downtown. Quiet building, no reception area, just a hallway and a room with a table. I signed papers for an hour. Amendments to the parent company structure. Transfer of voting rights to a private trust. The trust had one member. Me. This is ironclad, the notary said. Nobody can challenge it without your signature. That's the idea. Your wife doesn't know? I capped the pen. My wife knows what I tell her. When I got home, Eleanor was in the kitchen. She looked up when I entered, eyes calculating. Where were you? Doctor's appointment. You didn't mention it. Routine follow-up. She turned back to her wine. Spencer says the restructuring is going well. He thinks we can announce the changes next month. I poured water. Whatever Spencer thinks is best. Later that night, I found my desk drawer open, subtle, almost invisible. But I knew how I left things. The confidential envelope was gone. Eleanor had taken it. The envelope containing outdated share certificates from the shell company. Worthless paper I'd left there intentionally. Let her think she'd found something. Let her think she was ahead. Spencer brought a woman to the quarterly meeting. Young, confident, introduced as a PR consultant named Vanessa. She wasn't a consultant. She was his mistress. I'd seen them at a restaurant 2 weeks earlier. His hand on her knee under the table, her laugh too familiar. Vanessa sat beside Spencer and took notes, offered opinions nobody asked for, suggested we modernize the brand and shift demographics. When Marion from Dispatch asked a question about route efficiency, Vanessa interrupted. I think we need to move past the operational weeds and focus on big picture strategy. Marion had been with me for 19 years, knew every route, every driver, every shortcut through 3 states. Her face flushed. She looked at me. I said nothing. After the meeting, I found Marion in the hallway. She was packing her desk. I'm done, she said. I'm not being talked down to by some consultant who doesn't know a freight dock from a loading bay. I handed her an envelope. Don't open it until you get home. What is it? A choice. She looked at the envelope, at me. Thomas, just read it, then call me. Inside was an offer letter. Head of operations for a new division. 20% raise, full benefits, for a company called Keen Logistics Holdings. The one they didn't know existed. The press release hit every trade publication. Keen Freight announces new leadership, direction. Photos of Spencer in the warehouse. Quotes about innovation and growth. Buried in paragraph 6, founder Thomas Keen steps back due to health concerns, but remains supportive of the transition. Health concerns. The phrase followed me, at the grocery store, at the bank, at my doctor's office where the receptionist asked if I was okay with genuine worry. I told everyone the same thing. I'm fine, just letting the next generation lead. The local paper ran a longer piece. Business section. My photo from 10 years ago when my hair was darker and my face less lined. Headline, Too Rich to Care, Keen Steps Down. The article painted me as a man who'd made his money and lost interest, who'd rather golf than grow, who'd become a burden to his own company. Eleanor framed it, hung it in her office. I saw it there when I stopped by to pick up files. She was on the phone, didn't acknowledge me. Just gestured vaguely at a box by the door. My things, awards, photos, a paperweight from our 20th anniversary. I carried the box to my truck and drove to the cabin I'd bought 2 years earlier, the one Eleanor didn't know about because it was titled to the trust. Quiet place, lake view, no neighbors. I unpacked the box slowly. Then I called my lawyer. It's time, I said. The cabin sat on 40 acres outside Harrisburg. Pines, water, silence. My lawyer, Vincent Alcott, arrived at noon. He'd represented me since the beginning. Knew where every asset was buried, every contract, every loophole. We sat on the deck, papers spread across the table. The holding company is clean, Vincent said. All federal logistics contracts flow through it. Defense agency work, cold chain for medical supplies, the real money. And Keen Freight has the legacy contracts, the ones Spencer's systematically destroying by renegotiating terms he doesn't understand. I studied the lake. A heron stood in the shallows, patient and still. He thinks he's saving the company. He thinks he's building an empire, Vincent corrected. Eleanor's been telling people you hid assets, that you're sabotaging them out of spite. Good, Vincent raised an eyebrow. Good. Let them build that narrative. When the truth comes out, the contrast will be sharper. Thomas, they're going to fight. Eleanor has lawyers, Constance has money. They have lawyers who bill by the hour and tell them what they want to hear. You've been preparing for this for 2 years. Vincent gathered the papers. Last chance to back out. Let Spencer run it into the ground, walk away clean. I'm not walking away from what I built. Then you're walking toward a war. I watched the heron strike. Fast, precise. It came up with a fish. Are you sure you're ready to watch them destroy themselves? Vincent asked. I didn't look away from the water. I'm counting on it. Spencer hosted a dinner at the Union League. Formal, board members, key investors. The kind of event Eleanor loved and I'd always avoided. I went anyway. Sat at the far end of the table, near the kitchen doors, where staff came and went with wine and appetizers. Spencer stood, tapped his glass, smiled like a man who'd never failed at anything. I want to thank you all for your faith in this transition, he began. Keen Freight has been stagnant for too long. Comfortable. We need to be hungry again. He talked about efficiency, consolidation, eliminating waste. What he meant was firing people and breaking contracts. One board member, Harold Stokes, shifted in his seat. He'd been there since the beginning, knew the difference between streamlining and gutting. Spencer continued, talked about new investors, technology partnerships, going public in 3 years. All lies, or dreams he thought were plans. When he finished, people clapped. Eleanor beamed. Harold caught my eye. Said nothing, just shook his head slightly. After dinner, he pulled me aside in the hallway. This isn't sitting right, he said quietly. What isn't? Spencer's burning through cash like it's infinite. He's making promises the numbers can't support. Have you told him? He doesn't listen. Says I'm stuck in the past. Harold looked tired. Thomas, I know you stepped back, but something's wrong here. I put a hand on his shoulder. Trust the process, Harold. It'll work out. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I left before dessert. Spencer's card declined at the Hamilton Hotel. He was hosting potential investors from Singapore. Lunch. Open bar. Big promises. The hotel manager called me directly. We'd worked together for years. Keen Freight handled their supply deliveries. Mr. Keen, there's an issue with the corporate account. What kind of issue? Insufficient funds. The card was declined. Mr. Whitaker is quite upset. I could hear Spencer's voice in the background. Loud. Demanding. Tell him it's a technical issue, I said. It'll be resolved shortly. Should I extend house credit? No. Silence. Sir, let him figure it out. I hung up and called Marcia. The hotel account, I said. I saw. Spencer tried to pull $50,000 for the investor lunch. Freeze it. Already done. Good. That was the first one. Freeze the next 2 operating accounts tomorrow morning. Thomas, he's going to panic. That's the idea. Spencer called me 6 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. Eleanor called once, left a voicemail. Thomas, there's something wrong with the accounts. Spencer can't access funds. We need you to fix this immediately. I deleted the message. At dinner, I ate alone. Made notes. Checked the calendar. 3 more weeks. Then the hammer would fall. The resignation started on a Monday. 4 staff members, all longtime employees. By Wednesday, it was 12. Spencer called an emergency meeting, blamed me, said I was sabotaging the company, poisoning morale. Eleanor backed him, sent an email to remaining staff. These are difficult times. Change is hard, but we're building something better. What they were building was an exodus. I visited each employee who'd quit, quietly, at their homes or coffee shops far from the office. To each one I handed an envelope. Inside, an offer letter, salary increase, better benefits, position with Keen Logistics Holdings. What's this company, they'd ask. The one that values what you do. Read it. Think about it. Call me. They all called. By Friday, I'd rehired 11 of the 12. The 12th had already taken a job in Baltimore. I sent her a bonus check anyway. For loyalty, for years of good work. Spencer blamed the market, said people didn't understand his vision. Harold called me that weekend. Thomas, the staff is disappearing. Spencer's running the company like a dictatorship. I don't know what you're planning, but whatever it is, do it soon. Soon, I promised. How soon? When the time is right. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. I hung up and returned to my notes. Every piece moving into position. Every day Spencer dug deeper. Patience wasn't weakness, it was strategy. The charity gala was Eleanor's stage. Annual event, black tie, 500 guests. She'd chaired it for 8 years. This year, her speech was different. Leadership isn't about holding on, she said from the podium. Spotlight bright, champagne glasses raised. It's about knowing when to let go, when to trust the next generation to build on a legacy. Cameras flashed, people nodded. She was talking about me, without saying my name, painting me as the old guard who couldn't adapt. I stood in the back, clapped when appropriate. After her speech, Roland Vance approached. He ran a pharmaceutical distribution network, one of our biggest clients. Thomas, he said, shaking my hand, your wife told us to call Spencer about our contract renewal. Did she? Should we? Our current contract expires in 60 days. I looked across the room. Eleanor was laughing, Spencer beside her, both convinced they'd won. Call whoever you trust, I said. Roland's eyes narrowed. Is that Spencer? I didn't say that. He studied me. What aren't you telling me? That your contract is safe, that the people who handle your shipments know what they're doing, and that change isn't always improvement. You're still involved. I never left. Roland nodded slowly. I'll make my call. He walked away, made a call right there. Not to Spencer, to Marcia, to the real office, the one managing the real work. The lawsuit arrived on a Tuesday. Small vendor, specialty packaging supplier. They sued Keen Freight for breach of contract. Spencer had canceled their agreement to save costs, shifted to a cheaper supplier whose materials failed in transit. Damaged goods, lost shipments, liability claims. The local business journal picked it up. Keen Freight faces legal challenge amid restructuring. Spencer tried to settle quickly. Offered double the contract value to make it go away. The vendor refused. Wanted public acknowledgement of the breach. The story grew. Other vendors came forward. Similar complaints. Canceled contracts. Unpaid invoices. Spencer blamed the old guard. Said I'd left the company in worse shape than anyone knew. I read each article carefully. Made notes. Sent copies to Vincent. He called after the third story broke. This is strike one, he said. I'm counting 3. 3 violations. 1 pattern. The board can't ignore this much longer. They will as long as Eleanor's controlling the narrative. Then change the narrative. I smiled. Soon. That afternoon, I received an email from Harold. Subject line, we need to talk. The message was brief. Emergency board meeting next month. Vote on Spencer's leadership. Be ready. I wasn't just ready. I'd been ready for 6 months. Spencer scheduled a meeting with investors from Frankfurt. Big money. Expansion capital. His chance to prove he could play in the international market. He sent calendar invites, booked the conference room, ordered catering. 2 days before the meeting, I made a call. The corporate charter required executive decisions to be approved by someone with power of attorney. Spencer had temporary authority, granted by Eleanor. Based on my supposed incapacity, I revoked it. 1 signature. 1 filing with the state. Done. Spencer showed up to the meeting on schedule, confident, rehearsed. The room was empty. On the conference table, a single envelope. Inside, a note. Check your contract. Attached, a copy of his revoked authority, effective immediately. Spencer called me 17 times that day. I answered none of them. He showed up at my house that evening, Eleanor with him. Both furious, I didn't let them in. Spoke through the door. You wanted to run the company, Kafri, run it within your actual authority. You can't do this, Eleanor said. I just did. We'll fight this. You'll lose. Spencer's voice rose. You're sabotaging your own company out of spite. I opened the door then, just wide enough to see their faces. It's not spite, I said quietly. It's ownership. There's a difference. I closed the door, locked it. Listened to them argue on my porch until they finally left. Constance called a meeting. Her house, Sunday dinner, command performance. I declined. Eleanor showed up at my office Monday morning. You embarrassed us, she said. I corrected an overreach. Mother wants you at dinner next Sunday. She says we need to discuss the family's position. The family doesn't have a position in my company. Her eyes went cold. We're rewriting the bylaws. Mother's lawyer is already working on it. Good luck with that. Thomas, don't be stupid. We can make this difficult. You already are. She left without another word. That afternoon, Spencer brought in a lawyer, Skip Hendricks. Former corporate counsel I'd fired 3 years earlier for billing fraud. They thought I wouldn't know. I knew everything. Skip reviewed the bylaws, found what he thought were loopholes, drafted amendments that would dilute my voting power. He submitted them to the board for review. Harold called me immediately. Thomas, they're trying to rewrite the charter. I know. You know? This strips your authority. It strips authority from the position they think I hold, not the one I actually hold. Silence. What does that mean? It means Skip Hendricks is working from outdated documents. The real bylaws were amended 2 years ago. By who? By me. Filed with the state, notarized, ironclad. Harold laughed, short, sharp. You've been planning this the whole time. Yes. When does it end? Soon. Georgina delivered the red binder on a Wednesday morning, 3 inches thick, tabs color-coded. Inside, 6 months of documentation, Spencer's decisions, canceled contracts, unauthorized expenses, vendor complaints, staff resignations, every email, every memo, every dollar moved. I flipped through it slowly, coffee growing cold. Marcia had included financial analysis, projections showing where Spencer's decisions would lead. Revenue decline, client loss, potential bankruptcy in 18 months. The last section contained evidence of personal spending, Spencer's corporate card used for personal expenses, dinners with Vanessa, hotels, jewelry. Not illegal if disclosed and reimbursed. Spencer had disclosed nothing, reimbursed nothing. I closed the binder, stared at it for a long time. This was it. Everything needed to end this cleanly. I called Vincent. We're close, I said. How close? The board meeting is in 2 weeks. I want you there. What are we revealing? Everything. Once you do this, there's no going back. Let them fight. You could walk away. Keep the real company. Let them have the shell. No, I said. They don't get to erase what I built. Vincent was quiet. I'll prepare the filings. The letter arrived at Spencer's house on a Saturday. Certified mail, return receipt required, notice of internal audit, Keene Freight Corporation, scheduled review of financial operations. Eleanor called me screaming, "You can't audit the company, you're not even involved anymore." Board voted, I said. 6-1. Who voted for it? Everyone but the seat you filled with your mother's friend. She went silent, calculating. When did this vote happen? 3 weeks ago. We weren't notified. You weren't on the distribution list. Thomas, what are you doing? I hung up. The audit firm arrived Monday. Big operation. Forensic accountants. They requested everything. Every bank statement, every vendor contract, every payroll record. Spencer tried to block access, said the audit was politically motivated. A vendetta. The auditors didn't care about politics. They cared about numbers. They set up in the conference room. Boxes of records. Computers. Serious faces. Spencer paced the hallway, sweating despite the air conditioning. Harold watched from his office, called me that afternoon. The audit was triggered by a board vote, he said. You influenced that vote weeks ago. I presented concerns. The board acted. You've been manipulating this the whole time. I've been protecting what I built. He didn't argue. How long until the results? 2 weeks. What will they find? The truth. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The journalist contacted Spencer for a profile piece, business magazine, rising leaders in logistics. Spencer agreed immediately, saw it as validation. The interview happened over lunch. Spencer talked about innovation, disruption, his vision for modernizing an antiquated industry. He mentioned my name twice, both times dismissively. The old guard, resistant to change. The article was scheduled to run the following month. It never did, because I arranged a second interview. Not with Spencer, with the journalist directly. We met at a quiet restaurant. I brought documents, financial records, staff testimonials, client complaints. Spencer Whitaker told you a story, I said. I'm showing you the receipts. The journalist reviewed everything, asked careful questions, verified sources. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because the truth matters. He's family. He's a liability. The article that ran was different. The real story behind Keene Freight's turmoil. It detailed Spencer's mismanagement, the canceled contracts, the vendor lawsuits, the staff exodus. It quoted anonymous employees, board members, clients. It mentioned the audit, the questions about personal expenses. The final paragraph referenced me. Founder Thomas Keene declined comment, but sources close to the company suggest his role in recent events has been significantly understated. The article hit the website at midnight. By morning, Eleanor's phone was ringing off the hook. Spencer tried to have it retracted, threatened legal action. The magazine stood by their reporting. 3 board members called me that day. The message was the same. We need to talk about Spencer. Vanessa cracked on a Thursday. She'd been using Spencer's corporate card. Hotels, restaurants, designer purchases she claimed were for client entertainment. Nobody noticed until the audit. $27,000 in unauthorized charges over 4 months. Spencer tried to cover it, said he'd approved everything, said it was for PR consulting. The auditors requested invoices, contracts, proof of services rendered. There was none. Vanessa panicked, contacted a lawyer. The lawyer told her to cooperate or face fraud charges. She cooperated, leaked emails to a whistleblower website. Correspondence between her and Spencer. Personal, incriminating. Make sure Thomas doesn't see the expenses. Can you route this through your personal account? We'll pay it back before anyone notices. The emails went viral in our industry. LinkedIn, trade publications, Twitter. Eleanor confronted Spencer at the office. Staff heard her through the closed door. You let her sink us? Your mistress? She's not my mistress. Don't lie to me, not now. Eleanor, I can fix this. You can't fix anything. You never could. The door opened. Eleanor walked out, saw me standing in the hallway. Our eyes met. She looked away first, went to her office, closed the door, didn't come out for hours. The emergency board meeting was called for Monday morning. 7 days after the article, 5 days after the emails leaked. Eleanor tried to stop it, claimed improper notice, procedural violations. Vincent responded with documentation. Every rule followed, every requirement met. Spencer arrived early, suit pressed, tie straight, trying to look confident. The board gathered. 8 members. Harold as chair. Spencer presented his defense. Blamed the audit, the article. Me. Thomas Keene has orchestrated a smear campaign, he said, because he can't accept that the company has moved forward without him. Harold cut him off. Spencer, the audit found irregularities. The vendor lawsuits are real. The staff departures are documented. What's your response to the evidence? The evidence is being misinterpreted. By forensic accountants? Spencer's jaw tightened. I made decisions. Some worked, some didn't. That's leadership. Leadership doesn't include unauthorized personal expenses. Those were mistakes. I'm reimbursing everything. That doesn't address the breach of fiduciary duty. Harold called for a vote. All in favor of removing Spencer Whitaker from operational authority effective immediately. 6 hands rose. Spencer stared. You can't. We just did. Eleanor? Eleanor's hand was down. She wouldn't look at him. Harold continued. This board thanks you for your service. Security will escort you out. Spencer stood, face red, voice shaking. This isn't over. We'll fight this. We have rights. You have an exit package, Harold said. I suggest you take it. Security arrived, professional, quiet. Spencer left without dignity, without the fight he'd promised, just left. Eleanor tried to take control the next day, showed up with her lawyer, claimed marital property rights, spousal authority, presented documents stating she had equal decision-making power in company operations. Harold called me. She's claiming ownership through marriage, he said. Tell her to check the postnuptial agreement. What postnup? The one she signed in 2017 after her affair with the tennis instructor. Silence. Thomas, I didn't know about that. Most people didn't. We kept it quiet, but the agreement was clear. She waived all claims to business assets in exchange for keeping the house and certain investments. She signed that? Willingly. To avoid a messy divorce. Harold cleared his throat. You were going to divorce her then? I considered it. She convinced me to stay, said it was a mistake. One time, I believed her. And now? Now the agreement protects what I built. Eleanor's lawyer reviewed the postnup, confirmed its validity. Eleanor sat in the conference room, face pale. You planned this, she said when I arrived. I protected myself. From your wife? From anyone who might confuse marriage with ownership. She looked smaller suddenly, older. Thomas, we can work this out. No. I made mistakes. Spencer was wrong, but we can fix this together. I slid divorce papers across the table. Sign these. Her hand shook. You're really doing this? You already did, years ago, when you stopped seeing me as a partner and started seeing me as an obstacle. She signed. The final transfer happened on a Friday morning. Legal filing, merger documents. Keene Logistics Holdings absorbed Keene Freight Corporation. All real revenue, all federal contracts, all valuable assets transferred to the entity I solely controlled. What remained was the shell, the name, the empty building. I rehired every employee Spencer had let go. Better positions, better pay. Marion became VP of Operations. Georgina, Chief of Staff. I blocked Eleanor's corporate access. Security badge deactivated. Email disabled. Name removed from directories. She showed up anyway, tried to enter through the front. Security stopped her, polite but firm. Ma'am, you're not in the system. I'm Eleanor Keene. This is my husband's company. We have instructions. You're not authorized on the premises. She called me. I didn't answer. Called my lawyer. He told her the same thing security had. She stood outside for an hour, waiting for something. For someone. Nobody came. Finally, she left. Harold called that afternoon. You really did it, he said. I really did. How does it feel? I looked around my office. The real one, the one that had always been mine. Like coming home. What happens to the old building? Sell it, lease it, I don't care. It's just a building. And Eleanor has everything she wanted. Freedom from a husband who embarrassed her. Thomas, I'm fine, Harold. For the first time in years, I'm fine. I invited them to my office, formal invitation, delivered by courier. Eleanor, Constance, Spencer. They arrived together, united in confusion. They sat across from me, 3 people who'd tried to erase me. I opened the red binder. This contains documentation of every decision Spencer made, I began. Every canceled contract, every unauthorized expense. Spencer leaned forward. This is harassment. This is evidence. I pulled out the shell company documents. You were reviewing reports for a company that existed only on paper. The real work ran through Keen Logistics Holdings. Eleanor's face went white. You created a fake company? I created a decoy, to see what you'd do when you thought I was vulnerable. Constance spoke. This is fraud. No, this is strategy. Everything was legal, filed, documented. Spencer stood. You planned this from the beginning. No, I said, from the second you called me obsolete, from the moment Eleanor agreed I was a burden. I closed the binder. You have what you wanted. I'm out of your lives, but you don't get my company. You don't get to rewrite what I built. Constance gathered her purse. We'll challenge this. You'll lose. They left, one by one. Eleanor paused at the door. Did you ever love me? Yes, I said. Did you ever respect me? She didn't answer. Eleanor begged for a private settlement. Called, emailed, showed up at my attorney's office. Vincent called me. She's asking for mediation. No. She says she'll accept any terms. Then she accepts the terms already set. The divorce was filed. Clean, simple, settlement, $1. She'd waived business claims. I'd paid for the house, her car, investments under her name. The final meeting happened at the courthouse. Brief, procedural. Eleanor wore black, sat stiff and silent. When the judge asked if she understood the terms, she said yes. When asked if she agreed, she hesitated. Her lawyer whispered, yes, she said finally. Papers signed. Marriage dissolved. 22 years reduced to signatures. She broke down in the hallway. Quiet tears. The receptionist walked her out. I watched from a window. Felt nothing but tired. Vincent joined me. It's done. It's done, I agreed. Any regrets? I thought about that. About the years. The belief that marriage meant partnership. Just one, I said. I wish I'd seen it sooner. Would you have done anything different? No, but I would have wasted less time hoping. I walked through the office on Monday morning. First day of the new structure. Staff greeted me, warm, genuine. These were people who'd stayed, who'd believed. Marion met me at my office, handed me coffee. Morning, boss, morning. The federal contract renewals came through, all of them. I sat at my desk, the chair creaked. Familiar, right? At 10, I introduced the new CEO. Not me, Malcolm Torres. Started as a warehouse manager 20 years ago. Knew every aspect of the operation. He stood at the front of the conference room, humble, grateful. I won't let you down, he said. I know, I replied. After the meeting, I walked to my truck. Afternoon sun warming my face. Drove past the old building, the one with our name, empty now. For lease sign already up. I didn't feel sad. They'd handed me my exit, tried to write my ending. Instead, I wrote theirs. Quiet justice, no yelling, no threats, just strategy and patience. Because while they'd been planning my funeral, I'd been building my resurrection. They called me obsolete, lucky, past my prime. I let them believe it until the moment I proved them wrong. Not with words, with evidence, with the company still standing. They handed me my exit. I handed them their ending and walked away free.